We've got quarterbacks dropping dimes all over the place today. DA being asked as a defensive coach to talk about what the offense is doing, and of course, the dreaded injury report. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. So today, it apparently is pretty much all about the offense, and especially the quarterbacks. Um, all three quarterbacks appear to have very good days today, especially Carr and Spencer Rattler. Um, Carr and Chris Olave probably had the play of the day. Uh, Somewhere between 55 and 60-yard touchdown bomb. I've seen it called a 55 and a 60, but by all accounts, Olave just beat the defender right off the bat, got down the field, and Carr just some of the reporters there were even saying that was his best throw of camp so far, but he just dropped one in right on Olave for a beautiful long touchdown. Um, in addition to that bomb, he also had a 23-yard touchdown pass to Alvin on a wheel route. Had a short TD throw to Olave in the red zone, and he had a 5-yard touchdown run on his own read. Um, Basically, today was a lot of red zone work for offense and defense, so that's where a lot of this was coming on. But Da did say in his post game that they worked on a lot of situational stuff throughout practice, being even on first and second down, they worked third downs again. So some of this was in team drills, and some of this was 7-on-7. Speaking of which, and Carr did have one blemish, but that may have been without having seen the play, been looking, haven't seen anybody post a video on it yet. But it was described. He threw an interception, but that Alontae Taylor undercut a route for Stanley Morgan to pick it. So I'm not quite sure if that's Taylor just jumping the route, making a great defensive effort, or if it was a bad pass or not. So either way, what he did the rest of the day, it's like still a very good day. Spencer Rattler had a monster day. He was running with the threes. It sounds like this is his best day so far in camp. From what I'm looking at the numbers that they're throwing out there of what he did in team drills and 7-on-7s, I'm going, man, I can't imagine he's had a better day in camp yet. But in team drills, he 7 completions on 8 attempts and 4 touchdown passes. And then 7-on-7s, because he was running with the threes, obviously less reps, but he was still 2 for 3 with 2 touchdowns. So Rattler probably also may have had his best day at camp today. And there are 2 beautiful throws that I did see on Twitter he made to Jacobson, who was running with the threes at tight end. They very good plays. So we'll see how that comes out. But in Haenor, not hearing much on Haenor, but again on Twitter, did see a video where he dropped a complete, absolute perfect dime to Chris Olave in the back corner of the end zone, over the shoulder, just hit him perfectly. There's nothing the defender could do about it. So I'm thinking you could just rack this up to as a day where all 3 quarterbacks had a good day. Generally, it sounds like the offense had a good day today. Um, Not hearing a whole lot from the defense, one way or the other. Not necessarily that they played awful, but not really hearing that they did anything exceptional. So the ebb and flow of training camp after the defense was beating up on the offense earlier in the week, maybe it's catching up where the offense is now going, not so fast, my friend, and coming back with their own pushing the defense around. So, which is good, getting that competition, getting that work in. Da kind of talks about that a little bit, and we're gonna talk about what he talked about. Um, the only thing I've heard on the offensive line today was some mentions. Man, they look very solid. So I do know in one of the touchdown passes to Olave, Carr was feeling pressure from Foskey and I think Peyton Turner. Um, but still, the pocket apparently stayed fairly clean. He didn't get hit, and he was able to get the ball downfield. I think that was on the long bomb to Olave. Um, and they keep talking about the running game is still doing its thing, still looking very good, especially with Alvin and Jordan Mims is. It sounds like he's getting more and more comfortable in that backup running back spot. Where that lands him on the depth chart, I don't know, but it sounded like barring something, some major setback or something happening to him, sounds like he's honing in on one of those spots and running back on the 53 man. So that's all very good news to hear that, especially after the way the week started, kind of getting into Saturday's practice and then seeing a lot of this progression from the offense then from the beginning of the week. So I wanted to just briefly talk about some of the stuff that Da talked about. He had a very short Q&A after practice anyway, but they did ask him kind of to chop three or four questions together, but they were kind of questions based on, hey, Da, as a defensive guy, defensive coordinator, a long time, what do you think about what you're seeing from this offense? And they it's pretty good Q&A and exchange. I think there was some really awesome stuff in there. So I kind of clipped it together, and it's a couple minutes long, but we'll watch it and talk about it.
Defensive guy, like what do you think when you see that stuff, when you're designing that stuff? Like, how do you feel about the creativity of this offense?
Yeah, look, I think it's been really good. I mean, I don't think we've gone any 2 consecutive days where we've seen the same exact play. Now we've seen the same concepts, but they've all come off of some sort of different formation, different personnel grouping, different motion, fast motion, regular motion, all these different things that we're seeing is good to see from an offensive standpoint. I think our guys have been creative in what they are asking our guys to do, and I think our guys have been able to execute those plays. So it's one thing to say you want to be creative and do all these unique things, but you still have to be able to execute those plays. And so
I think basically what he's talking about there is what I've called eye candy, which I am not the originator of that expression by any stretch of the imagination, but that's basically what he's talking about. All that stuff that um, hides the fact that you're not really in the kind of what the first part was about. The eye candy and all makes everything different, but you're still basically running um, not the exact same plays because all the things he did describe, that's eye candy with emotions and all this stuff, different personnel settings and groupings and moving them around and doing all the crazy stuff that can be done in this offense. And the bottom line, basically, you're running all the same plays. If you strip all that away, um, it's not a lot of variance. Which, and I think he's going to go a little touch base on this a little more later on, but it's not like it's reinventing the wheel, this offense, because there's only so many plays you can run in, theoretically. But what they're doing on the outside with all that eye candy, if he keeps the defense or forces them to do stuff that the defense doesn't want to do, or switch personnel or get them to move or whatever, it is kind of having a bunch of different plays when you use all that extra stuff um, to get it to work. And he's something that I hadn't really thought of, because we're thinking the nuts and bolts of it, and the offensive line and their rules and trying to get everything straight, because that's really our biggest concern, I think. Well, he's bringing up the fact that everybody's got to learn that, which is true. The quarterbacks, the running backs, the receivers, the tight ends, H back, everybody all has their kind of rules, all kind of stuff to learn to do, and it's asking a lot to learn this offense in some weird ways. But what he's impressed with, and I think a lot of people impressed with watching this, going, they're picking it up pretty good. All this, if lack of a better word, not only the eye candy for all the skill position players and everything, but the stuff the offensive line has to pick up also.
our offense has done a nice job of that. I think that's going to prepare ourselves defensively throughout the course of the season. We're seeing
This was mentioned a couple of times by players during the week, or in the last week, about how this offense is really stressing the defense a little bit, but they're getting good work out of it because the defense is going, okay, now we're really seeing what this offense can do because we're playing against it every day. We're probably going to start playing against more and more versions of it every week in the NFL because I think this is the growing trend. Um, there were some teams that have done it for a while, but it wasn't very many. But it looks like more and more are going, hey, NFL's a copycat league, and here's the copycats, including us, going to do it. But that's what you got to do to get your offense rolling. That's what you do to get your offense rolling. But I like the fact that he's acknowledging this is good stuff for our defense um, to get the work in against this because they will see it an awful lot this year.
Some things um, that stress the defense, stress our technique, stress our rules, and so when you see those things, then you have to be able to adjust, and that's it's been refreshing to see, in particular from a defensive coach's perspective.
Have you
Stressing his own defense. I mean, he's acknowledging the fact basically in a weird sort of way, like Detroit's version of this, Houston's version of this. Not quite the same as what Frisco does, but you're getting in the ballpark. Saw it from both those teams. The Rams, McVay's version of it. Our defense was stressed. The Jacksonville Jags run some versions of zone scheme. All those teams are playoff teams, and all of them stress our defense at certain points of the game. Some way better than others, and for longer stretches of the game. But they cause some. They all cause their own unique problems and stress, as Da said. Um, so it's moving more, I think, from we're going to have to prepare for it as a defense. Every couple of weeks, we know this team runs, and I think it's going to be more and more. No, it's out of your 17 game season, you're maybe half, possibly some version of, maybe even more, is what you're going to see it, and it's a so get the stress down, training camp, get everything you got because he said as a defensive coach, yeah, basically it's good. So we're seeing it and we're trying to learn the best we can how to deal with it.
seen some things that maybe you haven't seen before, or variations on the theme?
Yeah, I don't know that I've seen any plays that I haven't seen at least on tape at some point in time before.
I kind of like the way that he said that. It's like, I mean, there's only running plays. There's only so many holes and gaps to run through in the offense, typically numbered like 1 through 9, basically. So many running backs that can carry the ball. So many receivers from different spots on the field. So many routes in the route tree. Um, so in theory, I think he's right. There's probably a finite number of plays, and after over 100 years in the NFL, that probably most of them have gotten figured out. But what this offense is doing, and a lot of other offenses, even not necessarily using these West Coast and zone scheme concepts, but think about what Sean Payton actually did successfully for years and years, just constant same plays, but with the personnel groupings to create mismatches, constantly moving them on and off the field. So I think the plays change, and I like the way he said that. By this time he's been in the league, probably seen them all at least once on tape, video. But it still doesn't mean that when you do all these, and I think he goes in that a little further. When you do all this eye candy stuff and all, it kind of makes it a new play, weird sort of way.
Again, I think the uniqueness really is how do we format it? What's the personnel grouping that we're using? What formation are we running these things out of? What type of motions are we using to hide, what we're trying to do? So I think that's probably the biggest thing in terms of like the creativity comes from not necessarily the ball plays as much as how you're getting to them.
Yeah. Like what he said in the middle of that. Yeah, we're just trying to hide what we're trying to do. And at the end, he's basically saying, yeah, just the eye candy. Just use all that to distract them. It's almost like the old con man in the shell games. Figure out which the quarters under which shell as he's spinning them around. That's kind of what this offense is doing. It's kind of conning the defense somewhat. Going, we're running a basic running play, but you can't figure out what we're actually, if it's a run or a pass, where the ball's going. and we're throwing so much other stuff post snap. We can hit reverses and counters and play action and all this stuff off these looks we're doing and hit you for big plays that way.
Okay, some reps where you're going to have Carr running out to the side late. What's the benefit of doing it that way versus maybe telegraphing it with a heavy formation where the defense can kind of just.
Did mention too that what they're talking about now is starting yesterday and again today, they did a few looks with the Taysom heavy run package like we ran the last few years with Pete and Sean before that. So that's basically what they're kind of talking about here.
I think anytime the offense moves, the defense has to adjust, right? And so, anytime you're making the defense have to think instead of just being able to put their cleats in the ground and line up and see it and react, I think it's beneficial. So that's all part of the, creativity of some of the stuff we're doing offensively.
One from Derek, the naked keeper. That was called, right? Or did he do that on his own?
Well, there's a read element that goes along with that play. It's pretty simple. I mean, everybody runs down inside, just keep it and run around the edge. I mean, that was pretty easy offensively. But look, that's good to see because there's some things that we have to be able to coach off of defensively and how we have to be able to defend those plays. I don't anticipate that you're going to see a ton of, Derek Carr keeping the ball, on that play. But I think, look down there in that area of the field in particular, when you make the defense have to play 11 on 11, and the quarterback becomes a running threat, then I think that's really challenging for the defense.
Forcing the defense to play 11 on 11. Talking about that first part, like even with I missed the very beginning. I couldn't quite understand it, but I know there's something to do with the heavy package, which was reportedly what they were doing. Taysom in a late motion by Carr. So I'm assuming that means when he goes running out wide and it's identifying as a Taysom package, trying to do it a little later instead of doing it like we did it the last few years where everybody knew what was coming. There was no disguise, no deception in it whatsoever. So I think that's kind of what that part is about. The other thing is keep forgetting that, and by all accounts, all three of our quarterbacks, look, they're not probably ever going to be Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson in the running game, but they're not statues. It's that I think all three of them do enough mobility in the pocket, not only to sidestep and get around like a pass rush and deliver the ball downfield. I kind of think they all can do that. They've shown it so far in camp. But I think they all have in that red zone, especially play action, roll out, be able to keep it if that's the read. That's what he's talking about. But down there, because it was a 5-yard run, the keeper that he had for the touchdown going, that really truly is a weapon down there where we're playing 11 on 11 because now you have to defend our quarterback in the run too, even if it's looking like a pass, or in that case, some type of rollout read where the whole defense goes with the running back and he's able to bootleg it around the other side. And I also agree, you're probably not going to run that a lot, but it's good to have in the arsenal. And now for the the injury report. Pretty much looking like it looked yesterday. It's getting to the point I don't even want to start reading these names off because a lot of them haven't changed. But Equanimous St. Brown, Bub Means, Marshawn Lattimore, Kendre Miller, Jalen Ford showing up there is kind of a new one, unless he was out of practice yesterday and nobody really realized it. Demario Davis still in bag, Nick Saldivari still not a bad trade, and Jeff Coates still out. Rashid Shaheed was attitude. He missed practice today, but apparently DA said it was just some hamstring tightness that they were just sitting him down as a precaution, and they're hoping he'll be back tomorrow. So, much like Olave with his little hip fall last week, just took a day and then came back and everything was good. Cedric Wilson returned today, and Shane Lemieux was a limited return for the last couple practices. He's back to full practice. And Lucas Patrick left early today. So I think it was late in the team's period. Catherine Terrell, I think, dropped that. So don't really know what's going on there. And Cam Jordan had a veteran rest day, so he wasn't out there today, but playing rest day, so no biggie there. Also, we're still making moves. Signed tight ends Kevin Rader and Mason Fairchild. Waived wide receiver Jermaine Jackson and tight end Jesper Horsted. And apparently Tommy Hudson, who was said to have been waived early in the week, saw some today where they actually put him on IR. So still on the roster, just won't play this year because of whatever injury he left practice with. So all in all, it was a good banner day for the offense, especially the quarterbacks. I think we needed that. I think as fans, we needed to hear that. I think just everybody's confidence level needed to see that day where it looks like a lot of things clicked on that offense and throwing up literally big numbers out there, at least in the passing game. So a little bit of a comfort level. That's always nice. Give me a thumbs up if you're at least comfortable compared to where we started at the beginning of the week, where it was a little stressful seeing what was going on, or basically watching the defense just kind of get it have its way with the offense. So if you're new here, please go ahead and hit the like for me, subscribe, notification, so you can always be around when we're gonna talk Saints. So till that next time where we do talk Saints, I'm Tim. Peace out. Who dat?